Welcome to the Autonomic Healing Podcast. I'm Tom Pells.
And I'm Ruth Lorensson. We'll be unpacking what it looks like to activate your brain to holistically manage stress and trauma that bring healing to the mind, body, and spirit.
Being free to live authentically as humans.
Thank you for joining us. Let's get this conversation started.
So Tom, here we are. We're doing the A to Z's of thriving, which I'm excited about. And last episode we talked about adversity, which is our very first one.
And accepting it.
Accepting adversity. It was
because there's always some adversity.
There is. And I think, even as that aired and I listened to it, it was just really helpful for me to think, actually, this is so important to be able to accept adversity, these difficulties that come along in life, and they can happen daily, they can happen, there's big ones and small ones, all sorts of stuff. But tell us about what we're going to do. We're obviously on B.
B, yes.
So tell us about what we're going to be talking about today and give us a little bit of an intro into that.
Yeah, I'd originally conceived of it as believe in benevolence. But then I got thinking about it, and benevolence is a virtue, it's a character trait, but it's acting on that. So instead of believe in benevolence, it's believe in beneficence. And you may have known the word benevolence, and you may have, what's that other word? Mm-hmm. Beneficence.
It's a cool word.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I like that word.
Me too.
And beneficence is the action that makes real the virtue of benevolence. Mm-hmm. Benevolence is the virtue. It's the moral quality. Mm-hmm. Beneficence is the action of that. Believing in and acting in ways that are beneficial. And you'll remember many times I've talked about this difference between beneficial and detrimental, and beneficence is acting in a way that is beneficial to people, self and others. Mm-hmm. And that has huge implications for our sense of well-being, our ability to deal with adversity, our frame of mind, our sense of well-being. Yeah. How we can deal with adversity. There's I'm old enough and I remember the old songs, but there's a song that was actually written by a woman from Canada back in the 1899, around the turn of that century, around 1900, Ada Blankhorn. And it's a lovely tune, and it's Keep on the Sunny Side. And the lyrics are, there's a dark and troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. Oh, the storm and its fury broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. Clouds and storm will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. And that chorus, keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. But it's more than that. It's more than simply the optimism of, it's terrible now, but it'll clear up and it'll be nice one day. And that optimism of hoping, kind of wishful thinking. The alternative isn't great either. The pessimism, the dark and troubled side of life, and that's just going to keep going. Or the storm and its fury broke today and crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. And that's just going to keep happening over and over, and we get into that negative anticipation. But it's believe in beneficence fundamentally changes the experience even in the midst of adversity.
And we were talking earlier a little bit. I mean, it was interesting because, obviously we changed. We originally were going to go, believe in benevolence, and as you thought more about it, you thought of this.
So the action
the
of
word of beneficence, but it's more than just like a cool word. It actually has incredible impact, and I think what you just mentioned was it's in some ways this third way between the optimism, pessimism, the glass half full, glass half empty. There's a way in which we can access the hope of goodness in the present. And it's the acting upon benevolence. And I think one of the things that we mentioned, Tom, as we were just discussing this episode before we were recording, was how in some ways with believing in benevolence, it can feel like a little bit of wishful thinking. It's like, you're facing, I don't know, a job loss, or you're facing a divorce, or you're facing friendships that have gone sour, and believing in benevolence is this hope far away of maybe
it'll improve.
It'll improve.
Things will
Life's
get better.
Good. No, it's not. It's crap right now. So
it is.
So while there's truth in benevolence, because we embody it, and we can believe that not only is it within us, it's in other people, and the world can be good. So there is truth in that. But if we only believe in benevolence in the midst of adversity, and we don't believe in beneficence, which is actually acting it out, then it can be this like little hope far off that isn't accessible, that isn't impacting us in the now, that doesn't have the substance. And so that I love the fact that we've kind of renamed this, because this is what we're about. It's like we don't want to just kind of say wishy-washy things. We want to access rational intimacy and access thriving in the midst of the storm, not just surviving. And so this way of believing in beneficence really does that. So I think there is a real difference there, and I just wanted to kind of expand on that a little bit, because it took me a while when you mentioned it to me, because I was like, what's the difference here? Blah, blah, blah.
And what is that
But
word?
then I realised actually this is a huge difference. This is the difference from in the middle of a storm one day going, well, life's not all bad. That's believing in benevolence. To actually, I'm going to make a choice today to live out the good that I know in my heart, even in the face of adversity. And that changes your day. It changes how you live. And I'm sure it changes your somatic makeup even in
absolutely.
that day. And so talk more about that.
Yeah. So this is, the whole series is the ABCs of thriving and not just surviving. When we're in the midst of adversity, it can just seem like this is all about survival. And that's all it is. I'm just trying to survive. But it can be thriving, even in adversity. And the A, accept adversity, can give way to and be empowered by believing in beneficence. Because it isn't just about the adversity. Yes, that's there. As that song went, there is a dark and troubled side of life. And there are storms and furies that can crush hopes that we cherish so dear. It's how we respond to the adversity. And by accepting it, yeah, this is horrible. It is a terrible thing that has happened and is happening and is having an impact. But I can do something. I have choice. I have agency. I can act in beneficial ways in response to the adversity. It's like, it's not just that there's a sunny side that's going to break through. We become the sunny side. We are the sun that brings light in the darkness, if I can put it that way. Our actions. And I think one of the things that's so critical about this is that the way we think about these things, and the actions that we take, actually feed information into our neurobiology. So when we experience darkness and trouble and the storm and the fury and the crushing of hopes, that information is all being processed by the sympathetic nervous system. We're just experiencing flight or fight. And that can get into I just want to survive. Thriving, not even on the radar. Thriving isn't on the radar of the sympathetic nervous system. It's not. It's all just survival. And I'm going to flee to survive, or I'm going to fight to survive. But it's all about survival. And that's what flight or fight is. That's what the sympathetic nervous system is. But it's not about, and here's my coined word, thrival. It's not just about survival. It's about thrival.
I feel like I need to make a t-shirt or something with that on.
I'm into thrival.
We're going to have merch soon, listeners. So just watch out for that one.
Yeah. My point is that when there's flight or fight, and that's activated the sympathetic nervous system, the storms, the troubles, the fury, all the rest of that stuff, and that sympathetic, the parasympathetic, is what produces and facilitates and participates in that dynamic of homeostasis, which restores normal, optimal function. But the way we think about things, the actions that we take when we accept adversity, we actually are facilitating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is about recover.
Rest, relax, recover.
Rest, relax, digest. What do stress and need do to the gastrointestinal system? Your stomach may flip, your heart may drop, you may feel nauseous and all the rest of that. Your stomach's upset. Yeah, because that's all sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic, recover. And in the midst of adversity, we can recover. Why? Because by believing in beneficence. And when I say believe in beneficence, I'm not talking about a cognitive assent to it. I'm talking about living it out. If you really believe something, you live it. You act on it. If you are not acting on what you say you believe, you don't really believe it. I can't stress that enough.
That's so true.
We can say we believe something, but if we are not acting on it, we really don't believe it. Why? Because we're not acting on it.
Yeah, and what I love here, Tom, which is I'm reminded of the phrase if life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? But even what we're talking about here is not wishful thinking of like, oh, life's good when actually it's really difficult. It's not that, and it's not even kind of muscling up in the face of, because that phrase to me, it makes me feel like you're kind of ignoring the fact that life made you lemons. You know, that's really optimism, isn't it? If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But it's not even just making something happen. It's about living something out. It's about who you are, becoming something. And it just makes me think, you know, I wonder whether some of our most potential glorious moments of life, where we shine the brightest, are in the middle of adversity, when we believe in beneficence, when we live out. Because there's something about the contrast of the storm and the sun and to be able to live out beneficence in the middle of adversity there's something incredibly beautiful when you see people do that, and the shaping of what happens in that space. I'm just reminded of people who've gone through, I think we mentioned this in our last episode, but just, you can have some people go through the same type of adversity and, like a divorce or something, and one person will be, it will send them into resentment and blame and criticism, and you see them kind of changing and almost shrinking within that overwhelming, difficult path that they have to walk through. And then you have another person who is faced with a similar type of situation, and they get to choose beneficence, and the adversity is the same. It's not like it changes, but there's something that shines very brightly in them in that space, and it does have a beneficial quality, not just for them, but the people that surround them. And yes. I think that's the difference.
Yes, because believing in beneficence is to make what is beneficial actionable. It makes what is beneficial real. So, yes, there is the adversity. But by believing in beneficence, I am injecting this moment with something that is not adverse, that is beneficial. I'm fundamentally changing the reality of what I experience with good. Literally.
Like you're changing your body.
Yes.
As well as your environment.
Yes.
By believing in beneficence.
Yes. As we act in ways that are beneficial, when the impulse with flight or fight might be to blame or be angry with or run away from or avoid or hide or whatever it is, when we consciously choose to act in a way that is beneficial to self and others, we are balancing the adversity. It's a catalyst that fundamentally changes the nature of the adverse experience, because it's not just adverse now. It isn't just adversity.
No.
There's something beneficial that is also occurring.
Yes, and I wanted to bring this up because I think it's important. I think that adversity, so we all as humans, we have benevolence, because there's a virtue, right? Benevolence is a good virtue within us. It
can be, yes.
So we have benevolence within us. Beneficence is how we live it out, is the action of that.
Yes.
So, but I wonder whether, and I think this is true, that adversity directly challenges the benevolence that's within us. And this is why it makes it so important, because it's not given that we will live out beneficence, especially when we have adversity, because I think there's a direct challenging of the good in us. So let me give you an example. So, for example, someone who is a person who feels like they've got this virtue of benevolence in them, and that maybe they're a trusting person, right? That's what they would believe in. That's how they live their life, and then suddenly they encounter
betrayed.
Yeah, they are betrayed. Maybe they're married, that their partner has an affair. I mean, like, that's devastating.
They have trusted their employer.
Yeah,
and then they're canned. So
this adversity, whatever it is, has directly challenged the good in them. The very thing that they believe in, the very way that they choose to live their life is challenged by adversity. Now, what can happen in that space if we don't believe in beneficence is that we can end up going the other direction. And you see it where people go, well, I'm not going to trust again. Why should I? I mean, why should I But why should I continue trusting a person when actually I've been betrayed? So that can happen.
And the blame game begins.
Absolutely. And so, but the believing in beneficence is this choice in the face of adversity. And I'm laughing now because I've got a thought in my head of The Lion King, which is one of my favourite movies.
Savannah!
There you go. That is the famous line of, I laugh in the face of fear.
Yeah.
But there is a laughing in the face of adversity when we believe in beneficence, because it's like adversity is not going to change my benevolence. In fact, I'm going to believe in beneficence and live this out, even in the face, even when the odds are stacked against me, even when no one else is doing what I believe in which is good. I will continue to live out my goodness in this time. And that, apart from that feeling very, very noble to me, it actually impacts the day. It's not this wishful thinking. It's not this optimism that's like, oh, well, I'm going through all this crap right now, but, one day it'll be good. It's like, no, you are partnering with good in your day. And like you were saying, it changes your somatic makeup. It changes your level of hope in that day. It doesn't necessarily change the adversity that you're facing at all.
And what it does is it empowers you to accept the adversity. Because that's not all there is. It's not just the stress. It's not just the need. It's not just the adversity. I can accept the adversity and then add to that believing in beneficence. Not just the adversity, but I'm acting in ways that are beneficial. I'm directly impacting and countering the adversity.
Yeah. You're staying on the sunny side of life.
Yes, and keeping on the sunny side isn't just an optimistic, oh, the sun will come out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there will be sun, like Little Orphan Annie. There's sun today. And by believing in beneficence, you become the light. You are the sun when there is none. You are the hope in the hopelessness. That's powerful.
It's incredibly powerful. And it's a really inspiring way of being able to live in a life that will be full of various different adversities and difficulties, and it's not just for, it's for everyone. It's not just for these really heroic characters of life. This is for everyone. This is a path that everyone can choose, and that will ultimately allow them to thrive. Think about that. Thrive in the face of adversity.
Why not?
We can.
Because there always is. Anybody whose life has no adversity, are they even alive? Are they interacting? Are they taking healthy risks? Is change occurring? I would doubt it. Are they an agent of change? Perhaps not, because there's gonna be adversity.
Yeah.
We can accept that. And then in the midst of the adversity, having accepted it, we can believe in beneficence. We can fundamentally alter what is occurring. Be a catalyst. It's a way to operationalize overcoming. I'm fundamentally, why and how can I overcome? Not by fighting back, but by doing good. I think of so many situations in the world right now. What's happening? Conflicts in the Middle East and in Europe. And if there was just a belief in beneficence, it can overcome the adversity. People may even mean things to be detrimental. They may not mean them to be detrimental. But that doesn't have to be the only voice. And we don't have to be overcome by what is detrimental. We can overcome, here it is, evil with good. We can overcome the detrimental with beneficence.
And so I'm just, as we wrap this episode up, I'm just curious about just some handles on how. Like, I just wonder, I love what you just said about overcome, obviously it's a very famous saying, overcome evil with good. And that's what we're talking about here.
And don't be overcome by it.
Yeah, yes. Evil is this adversity, whatever we're facing.
What is detrimental? Yes.
But I'm just curious about how do people do that? I wonder whether in the face of adversity, is it good to think through, what, like have a gut check again? What do I believe in here? What is good? What do I believe in that's good? And not allow adversity to shape what you inherently know is good. Because that can happen, right? People can get just so overwhelmed with adversity that they're cynical and they're just like angry and all the emotions, which they are understandable.
Completely.
But if we allow them to take hold and shape the benevolence that's within us, that to shape the good, then we're not going to be able to live out the good. And so I wonder whether just starting wherever you might find yourself in adversity, to start thinking, okay, that's happening, but what's happening in me? What do I believe that, what can I hold on to here that I wholeheartedly know is good? And how do I live out of that rather than live out of the adversity? Like, is that like a helpful start?
Absolutely. I choose to accept there is adversity. And I accept the adversity.
And the adversity isn't us.
But that doesn't define me.
No.
It doesn't define and limit my choices.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where believe in beneficence affirms I have choice. I have agency.
Mm-hmm.
I have choice. It isn't just about what situations or people are doing. I have agency too.
Mm-hmm.
I can, instead of returning evil for evil, returning detrimental for detrimental. You've done detrimental things to me. I'm going to do detrimental things to you. Think about these world situations.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to return beneficial.
Even in the face of detrimental.
You're giving me detrimental? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you, because in giving you beneficial, I'm giving me beneficial.
Yes. This is so important because basically the distinction here is let's not let adversity or what comes at us as detrimental define our identity and define our actions.
Yes.
And just to know that actually we are incredibly empowered in that moment to not let that happen. To go, actually adversity is happening, that's real, but it's not who I am. And I'm not going to live out of that place because who I am is beneficial and I'm going to live out in a beneficial way. And that really changes everything.
It counteracts the fundamental anxiety and fear that usually accompany and naturally accompany adversity. We sense or perceive a threat to well-being, aka adversity, and we can either feed the sympathetic nervous system by becoming the threat. You threaten me, I'm going to threaten you. I'm just feeding the threat paradigm. No, I'm not going to do that. That's empowering to me. and inviting to you.
And it stops a cycle of adversity.
It doesn't have an escalating conflict. Yeah.
It's really, really good stuff.
In beneficence. And you fundamentally change and alter the adversity. Yeah.
So let's just really, before we wrap up, just talk about what we're gonna, as things are going, we might change this by the next episode. So we'll see.
But
right now,
I suspect not. In this case, we accept adversity. That's the A. The B is believe in beneficence. And if you accept the adversity and you believe in beneficence, you C, create contentment.
Which sounds wonderful.
Yeah, because then it's not conditional on circumstances.
Yeah, contentment. And that's what we're going to be talking about in our next episode. So, Tom, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I'm looking forward to contentment and all of the things that we're going to talk around that topic next time around.
You've been listening to the Autonomic Healing Podcast.
Join us next time as we continue in our conversations with Tom. If you're interested in pursuing your own autonomic healing journey and want to find a practitioner, visit our website, innerworkings.org. See you at the next episode.